Hello and welcome back to my channel Lady Tea. My name is Nathalie and today there's another tea time video. Today I'm going to tell you about the books I've read so far for the 100 book challenge that I'm taking on this year. And let me first say that I'm already behind on the challenge because I'm 9 books behind, if Goodreads is correct, which it probably is. So I've read 7 books so far because I've been very busy with school and other things, but the books that I've read have been amazing, at least to me, and I would like to share them with you. Now, some of these books I'm going to talk about in book review videos, so I'm not going to say too much about them. So it's not going to be like a book review video because I'm saving those for Fridays. But hello Lucas, he just likes to be in the videos. But let me tell you about the 7 books that I've already read. Now, this isn't the first book that I read this year. Hello Lucas. But it's Hell's Moving Castle, which I have wanted to read in a very long time. And I started reading it because I wanted the 100 book challenge this year. I wanted to read books that I wanted to read and not just read books so that I was able to complete the challenge. And I have to say that at the start of this book I couldn't really get through it because, I don't know, it felt a little boring to me. But somewhere in the middle of it I really started to enjoy the story and I couldn't put it down anymore. But it took me some time to get into that flow. And by the end I was absolutely in love with it. Especially the last chapter was just absolutely amazing. I kind of saw it coming, but not in the way that the writer Diana Wynne-Jones did finish it. So that was amazing. It is not in my top 5 of books, but it is, I think, at least in my top 10 or it's going to be one of my favorite books of this year. Hello! He doesn't get enough attention, so. And one of the other books, this is actually one that I finished last year. Let me turn it around. But Hamlet is a book that I had to read like 12 or 8 books in 2 weeks at the end of last year to finish my reading challenge of 2017. So I just read through this very, very fast, so I didn't really grasp the whole story. But I did find it interesting, so I reread it for this year and just to take my time with it and really read the story in a more relaxing way so that the words can really soak in. And before I read Hamlet, I had this book on my shelf already, but I felt a little intimidated because there are a lot of people who talk about William Shakespeare and his genius plays. So I was a little scared to read it because what if I wouldn't get the story, or what if I don't get some underlying message that I'm just not picking up on. But it was an amazing story and it was much better and less boring than I expected it to be, because I didn't find it boring at all. And the play style of writing actually really worked for me in this one, because you also have the book of, I forget the name, from I'm mixing authors up. From J.K. Rowling, The Cursed Child, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and I didn't really care for the screenplay kind of writing that she used for that book. It just didn't really work for me, but in this one it really does. And Hamlet is also not going to be at the top of any of my reading lists, of my all-time book reading lists, but it is a book that I am happy that I finally read this year, and happy that I know that I don't have to be intimidated to read something from Shakespeare, even though I may not get everything. I already talked about this book in the first and the one that I did last Friday, the book review of The Crucible. So yeah, if you want to know my opinion about that, just watch the video. But The Crucible is definitely in my top 5 of all time, not just from this year. because it's such a great book and it really had an impact on me. And I think I finished this in one day, in one evening actually, because I started it late at the end of the day and I just couldn't put it down. And it isn't that many pages actually. It is 152 pages, so, and it's, the letters aren't too big or too small, so you can go through it quite fast if you enjoy the story. Lubas is now sitting with his back towards you. That is not very nice of you, but he just doesn't care. Anyway, one other book that I read that also has a kind of religious tone to it. Religious tone, she is religious and the whole book is about Christianity, so it definitely has a religious tone to it. But it is the book Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson. And this is a story, a book, that I'm not really sure yet what I think about it. Because, I don't know, I did like the story and I did go through it pretty fast because I enjoyed reading it. But there were also some times that I felt very uncomfortable. And that mainly has to do with the main character, who is called... What is her name actually? I forget these kind of things always. Let me look it up. Maybe her name is also just Jeanette. I think that was it. The whole clue to the book. I'm not very good at this, at remembering certain things which I should know before I start the video. Yeah, probably. Anyway, so I'm not very sure about how I feel about this book yet. There are some very interesting things, but I think that the thing is that really, even though I got through it pretty fast and I did like the story in itself, I find myself getting annoyed or irritated with the way the other people around the main character, because I forgot her name, looked at being gay. Because she does come out of the closet and she's told that it is wrong, and the whole thing about it not being right in God's eyes or in the Bible's eyes. So that is one of the things that got me really annoyed for her, because I was just feeling like if she feels that way, then you should just let it be yourself, even though maybe you look at it as a sin. So that is one of the things that have been playing, that are playing a huge part in my life right now. Not because I'm gay myself, because I'm hetero, but my mom is a lesbian. She is now dating a woman, and I know that it is a topic that has come up in my life recently a lot. So I get a little annoyed with it when it is brought up yet again, even though I chose this book on my own, but I didn't know that this was going to be the story in it. And that's why I'm also a little confused about how I feel towards this book. So maybe I should reread it at another time, and maybe then I can be more open to it. But right now I really can't. But I enjoyed the story, though I got a little annoyed with some things. And from the same writer and the same book series, are two books that I've already finished. One of them I started somewhere last year and I didn't finish it until this year. So they are two books from the Scholarly Pleasant series from Derek Landy, which is an amazing author. You should totally read all his books, especially the Scholarly Pleasant series. And I finished book 7 and 8, Kingdom of the Wicked, and the 8th is Last Stand of Dead Man. I'm currently reading the 9th book. Then I have to go on to the 10th, and then June 1st this year the 11th book is coming out midnight, and I'm so very excited about it. But let me tell you, I'm throwing books on the floor. Let me tell you a little bit about the book. First, book number 7, Kingdom of the Wicked. This one was good as always, but it was a little annoying or frustrating to me that Valkyrie, the main character, couldn't easily beat up a few students with whom had gotten magical powers through some god. I'm not going to get into it because yet again it's not really a book review video. But she has been training for quite some years, and she should, even though their magic is very powerful, I feel like she should have been a little more capable of handling them, and it just feels like she gets beaten quite easily. It's just a little like if you watch Pokemon, it's a little like every new series of Pokemon, Pikachu just seems to go down a few levels and needs to learn all these things that he has already learned in other seasons. And I feel like sometimes that kind of happens with Valkyrie as well. At least that's how it feels to me. Like every book she sometimes has to learn the same things again. So that is one of the things I enjoyed Derek Landy's writing like I always do. And I got through the book very easily because I just love his writing style. But that is one of the things that really annoyed me about this book. And this is one of my least favorite scholarly pleasant books. But then I got to the 8th book, Last Stand of Dead Man, which is probably at the very top or the second spot of my favorite scholarly pleasant books. It was brilliant. I really loved it. What I loved the most was all the twists and turns and all the dark secrets that were kind of guiding in the light. And I really loved Scott Greer Pleasant's character in this and how he reacted to stuff. I think he, over the series, has grown. Even though he is still very sarcastic and very like himself, there are some things he has been forced to deal with that I think he would have probably handled them differently in the first book than he would have right now. And this is just a brilliant book to me. It is number 8. I'm now at number 9 and I can't wait to read all of the rest, and I can't wait for the 11th book. I've already said it, but I'm very excited about it. So that was the 6th book I have finished this year. Let me say, I'm reading Frankenstein from Mary Shelley, I think it is. That would probably be the first time I remember an author correctly, and I hope that I do, because otherwise this statement is kind of unnecessary. But I'm reading that sorry, I'm getting a cold, I think. But I'm reading that story right now, so I haven't finished it yet. But I do want to say, because when I think about Frankenstein, I think about this monster that comes up from the table and there's this electricity and stuff. So I expected the story to start there, and that he would go into the village and cause a rampage there, but that isn't how it starts. So right now I'm not actually really enjoying it yet. I'm kind of waiting for the action to happen. But I think that's very interesting that other media can give us this idea of what a story is or how it goes, but then there's a lot of stuff that is left out that is very important to the story itself. So that is what I'm kind of discovering with this book, which I'm reading right now again, which is also very interesting to me in life itself, because sometimes we think that when we hear a story from the news or from social media, whichever one you prefer, that it is the whole story and then that there's nothing more to it. And if we see a meme or something, that we get the whole story because there's so much hype around it. But sometimes there are these details or this backstory that is really important to a story and lets you see it in a different light, which this book is doing to me right now. So if there's a book that you think you know the story of and you kind of like, then just pick it up and really read it, because maybe you will pick up different things from a book than the person who told you about the book, because you both look at it with different eyes. So that is just something that I wanted to share. And now, next Sunday, there's actually going to be a video up from a bookstore. I go to show you the top 10 most amazing bookstores from here in Holland. I found a list somewhere on the internet, so I'm going to show you. And I made a video of one of those bookstores already. I'm going to show you that in next Tea Times video. But there was a book there that I found that is just absolutely amazing. It isn't a pop-up book, but it is how do you call it? I just had it in my mind. A paper art. I think that's what it's called, but I'm just going to show you. It is a book, Beauty and the Beast, and I absolutely love it. It is the original story, not the Disney version, which there are some differences. Because, for example, Belle has 2 sisters, and her father gets to stay in the Beast's castle, and he actually, while he was forbidden to do so, he picked a rose for Belle, and that is why he was forced to send her there, to stay with the Beast. And there's no Gaston to kill him. But let me show you one of the pictures, because it is one of the pages. It is very beautiful. Look. It is just absolutely amazing. There's so much depth to it, and to me the art is very, very beautiful. And I absolutely adore it. So this is a very small book. It only has about 7 or 8 pages, maybe 6. And it is a very childhood story. But I wanted to read, this year I wanted to read books that made an impact on me, or that I found very beautiful, or that just did something to me. Not just to finish this reading challenge. And I think, or I feel like this also falls into that category. Because it is an amazing book. And it is so very beautiful. And maybe it was very short, but it is a book that is so incredibly beautiful. I mean, I'm going to show you another one. I mean, just look at it. It is amazing. More books should be like this. Even though they get big very, very fast, I want to have more of these pop-up art book kind of things. I absolutely adore them. And even the front, even though it's not pop-up at the front, it is so incredibly beautiful. I really love it. So, those are the 7 books that I've read so far. Frankenstein is going to be the number 8th book that I finish, hopefully. And there are some more books that I'm really, really excited about to read this year. So, this was the video for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you are also taking on a reading challenge this year or not a challenge. Maybe you are challenging yourself, what a difficult word, to read more, to write more, to create more art. Let me know what you are doing this year to improve one of your skills or one of the things that you want to work on. So thank you again for watching this video. I hope to see you in another video, and have a wonderful day today. Goodbye!